I don't have a microphone.
Coach, going back to last year's final, obviously you didn't have Etu in the lineup with the injury.
Yeah.
He's such a Swiss Army knife for you guys. He's moved up and down a bit. He's on the wing. He's played some center. He takes draws, PK, 5-on-5. Obviously a big play in Game 6 on the game winner. Just what have you learned maybe over the last 2 years about just what his value is to this team?
Well, we learned that last year because it was the big question mark going into the final because we lost him in the last game. So we didn't know what we would look like. What's the impact of that guy coming out? And it was huge. Changed the way that line looked. There were times in the 2 series prior that we would get up a game or up a goal in the game, and the other team would match their best against the Lundell line, which is Lestrana and Reinhardt at the time. That turned out to be a really good thing for us, to the point I'd throw them out for defensive zone draws because they had 2 lefty centermen and a righty centerman that could all take faceoffs, and they send out their big boys, and it was a pretty good match for us. So we learned then how important he was. We just could not replace him, and he grows like all players. A better player this year, stronger, understands the game that we play at a very high level. He can go up and down the wing, and we can always move him back into the middle if we have to. But he's a really important part of a heck of a line.
And sort of along those lines, how much did you know about him coming in?
Not
Did you have envisioned him
Not
being that
much.
valuable?
Like the video was 4th line center that I'd seen from playoffs the year prior before I came in. And then he is one of those guys at training camp, you look at what you've got, and you go, well, he can't play on the 4th line. He has to be in our top 9. And Lundell was still a young man at center, but our center ice was set, so it had to be the wing. He can play center ice for sure, but he just was an obvious top 9 guy in training camp last year, and that's why he got the job.
Paul, when you guys clinched on Saturday and you knew you had this 1 week of ramp up, how did you map up? Slow ramp up, we're gonna go hard these days, soft these days. How did you sort of map out?
Well, we reached back to what we had done because it becomes routine in each of the 3 series prior. There's a pure day off where they don't have to come to the rink the next day, and then we do a rehab, recovery, off-ice workout, and that's really where we're taking stock of where we're at injury-wise. But it's both. It's an off-ice workout and it's a recovery day. And then the only really, so with 4 days left, I don't think anybody skates for 4 straight days. The question was, would you go 2 on the front end or 2 on the back end? And we didn't like the idea of 2 days off, 1 practice, another day off, being off 3 or 4 days we didn't like. And they do like to get into kind of that rhythm of every second day if they can, so we wanted the back 3 days to be on, off, on, and then away we go. So it was just a reach back to what we had done and stay fairly close to our routine.
Well, you kind of touched on this after the game on Saturday, but so what do you think are some of the bigger differences between this year's team and the team a year ago at this point, mentally, on the ice, just in general?
The team itself and its health are the 2 biggest ones. Is that we had added the defenseman in the summer and added Stanley and some penalty killers in the summer, and then you can do whatever the heck you want in the summer. If you're not healthy by the time, that's not your team. So we've come to the last round healthy, and that would be the biggest difference. Just in terms of every team has its own personalities. This one, some of that personality is formed last year. And then, as I said, I think right from training camp, they're a pretty focused group. They were really dialed into doing the work every day.
I know when the games start, you won't be probably looking at stuff, but can you appreciate this? I mean, it took you 21 years to get back to your 2nd Stanley. You know what I mean? I mean, there's been some long summers, right? I mean, for all of us.
Every day. But my appreciation for these players in this situation that they put all of us in, I appreciate that in November as well too. These guys work hard, so I feel it does feel different, but I don't know that it's just because this is the 3rd one, whatever it is. It feels different because of the players, right? It's really kind of important, kind of what happens this week, but at this time of year, we're a small piece now. The coaches are a small piece. You're not changing any major systems. The adjustments that you make aren't really adjustments. They're just back to form. right? We're off in a game, part of our game. We want to get back to our form. So I think I said to Sergei today on this. I spend more time just cheering out there now. You know, something good, bang the stick on the boards, and check to see if I need a new one by the end of practice, stuff like that.
But are you getting any calls or texts from your friends there at the cottage,
I will
and
give
here you
I
are?
will just give you kind of a measuring stick of kind of how good a guy I am. I think I got about 16 texts after we beat New York, and Jamie Compon got 125. That's a fact. Also, anybody that knows me says don't text him. He never reads them,
Right.
or he doesn't answer them, or I am not at all tied to my phone. Somewhat proud of that.
Did you answer him?
I did, but not for a couple of days. I don't want to get excited about that. Say, hey, like if the text is a statement, does it need to be answered? It's not a question. It's just a statement. Thank you for your statement. I'll use nicer words than that.
You do the thumbs
When I
up.
started, you know what? I had young kids, so it's unusual for me that when I started coaching, actually I didn't have kids, and then I had very young kids. So the deal was from 4 o'clock to 7 o'clock at night, I would never do any media or phone calls or anything. That was kind of, you get home from the rink and games start at 7, but that block of time would be a time that I would, so I got in the habit of, I'll walk in, throw my phone in a drawer. The vast majority of the time, I forget it, and I pick it up on the way up before I leave the next day. So I'm not a connector.
When you look at their power play, you've placed some good power plays already. What makes it just maybe a little bit better than everybody else, or different?
So every power play has a structure to it,
Yeah.
and you have a plan for that structure. And when I say the word freelance, it's not disrespectful, it's not chaos. It's their ability to create off broken plays, off very small lanes that you leave open. It's not just the two great players they have, but boy, do they create an awful lot for everyone else. They've got a very strong net front presence. They got a heater on the blue line, very creative players in the other three. So structure, for the most part, you like to think you can handle. So a better word than freelance, it's the creativity off structure that makes them so difficult.
And
They
what
move
about
around a lot, but somehow Drysdale still ends up a lot in that bottom of the race.
Yeah, there's gonna be a percentage of the game, you have a pretty good idea where he's going and where he's gonna be. He's not always there, but if you score that many points, why wouldn't you? It'd be a pretty good area to hang out.
in their penalty kill? 28 straight kills for them?
Yeah.
I mean, what do they do on the kill that maybe is different, or is it just caught fire right now?
Well, there is something different, a little bit of an older school pressure by their forwards, kind of a top-down pressure that you don't see as much. Everybody's almost gone to more of a patient diamond. I think you saw that really come in. And these are all systems that have been used before.
Sure.
It's just you tailor them, but Colorado did an incredible job pushing Kucherov up instead of pushing down. So there's an awful lot of top-down. And then I think Kucherov changed that because we pushed him down. It was Stamkos and point. They almost invited that. Colorado pushed up. What do you see the next year start of training camps? Regularly see everybody's pushing them up. And on their kill, they still push down because it works really well for what they do. You know what, special teams really is, I've got a bunch of really good special team coaches in there. It's kind of, well, it's not quite as far off of goaltending. I do have opinions on special teams, but without a goaltending. It seems to me in our journey this year, that comment, their power play and their penalty kill has been true every series that we've got into. Certainly, when we went into the Tampa series, their power play was on fire, and it was, and it's a big part of. What do I think you asked? What's different? Our discipline in the playoffs this year has been outstanding. Then, to be honest with you, it wasn't last year, right? But that was all part of kind of how we got there. It was very few scrums, lots of heavy hitting, but very few scrums, real strong discipline, and we wouldn't have gotten here this year if we hadn't been, because Tampa would have just blown the doors off you if you'd spent all the night in the box, and the Rangers were cooking like we got it, and I think Boston had gone on an incredible run. He's swinging at a 9.55 at some point there in that series, so It's the way it should be. You're probably not getting here without really strong special teams.
The Rangers talked, or Laviolette talked about your system and how they couldn't get to their offense, going against your defensive system. I'm just curious, is this the system you've had throughout your, or obviously things tinkered and changed and with personnel, but is this?
No, you change them. A fair amount. Over the teams are different. When you get to a new team, you get to a different team, and you play with some things. You're influenced by what's kind of new in the league, what works for some teams. So I'll give you an example of maybe, you've got we do chase what works. Vegas's D-zone coverage was different, in my opinion, than almost all of the other. Some people call it zone switch off D-zone, and you saw a whole bunch of teams run it this year. It may have cost some people their jobs. You see, it's nuanced. You have to. So you do hang on to systems. Once you get it down, you think you got it right. But if it doesn't fit your team, it doesn't fit your team. There's nothing you can do about that. You just can't go to a different system. I'm trying to relate it to this series for you. The foundations of the team. So they've got, I believe, 4 players with more points than Matthew Tkachuk, and we're a pretty good defensive team. Those are the 2 foundations we are. But 5-on-5, depending on what analytics you use, what company you read, they're a better defensive team 5-on-5 than we are, and we're a better offensive team 5-on-5 than they are. I'm talking about small numbers here. I'm not talking about big. But I would agree with anybody that say they are a dominant offensive team. We got 4 guys with more points than Chucky. He's our leading scorer, so that's true. We've been pretty darn good. We've had stretches we haven't given up a whole lot. That's the foundations, but I think this is it's gonna be a really interesting, incredibly even series because there aren't holes. I don't see a hole in their game. Their defensive game's good. We don't need to talk about their offensive, anymore. It's brilliant.
Thank
It's
you
gonna
guys.
be awesome. Okay, see you guys.
Very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.